everyone. This is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. That was not my intro. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today, Florida's running into some trouble because, they, I guess you can say they retaliated with Disney after Disney declared war on them, and we've talked about that extensively, but apparently in the fine print, in the agreement they made way back in the day, if whoever dissolves the deal has to pay the debt. So that'd be a lot of money that Florida would have to take on. So they're like, Disney's like, we're gonna assume that this is null and void until you pay the money. So I went to go look at DeSantis' spokesperson's Twitter page, and it was silent on the topic. So we will see what happens with that. Also be talking about Joe Biden. Look at the past a little bit when he claimed that he didn't have any dealings with his son's different stuff, which obviously was a lie. We know that they shared a bank account, and I don't know why you'd share a bank account with a crackhead, and Biden actually ended up like fitting the bill for one of his prostitutes. I suppose you could call her escort, whatnot. And then he also paid for some of his legal bills. So there's that. So of course he was blatantly lying. We all knew he's blatantly lying. Even CNN and folks were like, okay, even if that were true, that you weren't having any business dealings or didn't know about it, like you wouldn't even like sort of ask a little bit of questions to make sure that you weren't doing anything like shady or something like that. So I mean, he's just a liar. Also, apparently they're trying to make some kind of Harry Potter type Ministry of Truth thing going on at the I guess the Department of um I don't know if I think it's a DOJ, but they just announced it, and it's pretty amazing. And the person who's heading it up clearly has some tweets regarding the Hunter laptop stuff and didn't think it was true, was trying to call it misinformation. So this is not the way. We've seen Biden and them, they're talking about Section 230 and trying to tackle social media because they don't like that Elon won, and they're trying to tackle misinformation. But of course, we all know that they push misinformation on a lot of different stuff. So obviously not fair. Also, I'm gonna play this clip of Megan Fox. She did an interview with Glamour, and something really weird she said, and I just want to share because the world is weird and gross, and I just think I ought to share. But before we jump into the news of the day, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different merchandise that I have on the website, like the cool goat hoodie, goat shirt, because it is getting a little warmer, but the hoodie is uber comfortable if you want to get that. I do have it in different colors. The Denounce White Supremacy Defeat Joe Biden shirt got the long sleeve or short sleeve, and it does have a list of some of his racism on the back. We got the I Am Not the Victim You're Looking For shirt and all kinds of other things you can get at the website. I do want to thank the Brighter Michigan Pack. I'm in their studio today. If I say something today that triggers you, I don't care. They don't care. No, it doesn't work like that. They just like to upload conservative voices, and I certainly do appreciate the opportunity to be here. I do enjoy being in the studio. Please check out different articles that I have on the website that you guys can go ahead and share. Please make sure you follow me across my different social media platforms. I know a lot of you like to watch on Facebook, but please feel free to go ahead and subscribe on YouTube and other places as well. Regardless of where you decide to watch it, it does help me. So I do appreciate you sharing across multiple platforms. If you're watching this on Facebook and YouTube, it's in the description, my different handles, so make sure you're following me across those. And if you do like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. Every little thing that you can do to support Black Tea News, I really appreciate it. I did have a funny sort of I guess meme to show this is from the a little late with the Marjorie Taylor case. And if you don't understand the context, I'll play the context. But she's basically having a show trial because they're trying to take her off the ballot because apparently allowing her to be on the ballot would be some kind of threat to democracy. But if you've ever seen the meme of the video of a guy, he's like eating ramen and he's like points to something behind him and it's just like really obvious. So you have Marjorie Taylor Greene here pointing behind, holding the bag of ramen, but just pointing behind her on the state seal. And if you're asking what the heck is that about, well, I'll show you.
And that's what I'm talking about.
And you know that the term 1776 is actually a term that's sometimes used in politics today.
I don't know if you've noticed our state seal here in Georgia. I know you're not from Georgia, but as you can see, we enjoy our history and we're proud of our freedoms. 1776 is on our state seal.
Great. And it's also a term that's used in political discourse in America today.
I don't use it as a term of violence.
But you use it as a term, right?
Yeah, so they are really, really reaching with a lot of stuff with her and like the 1776. A lot of people say 1776. It's just, we feel like there's a lot of government overreach and oppression, and a lot of people are prideful of their history of independence, and so I think that's just really what people are trying to invoke. It's not a call to violence or anything like that. I would say in most of the case anyway. I can't speak for every single person on the planet, but man, they're just the worst. So she definitely was snarky with those folks as they went hard for her on this show trial. So I thought it was at least a good, funny, snarky comeback. So really quickly, Ron DeSantis, we know this war that he has with Disney, that Disney absolutely inserted themselves in unnecessarily because of the Don't Say Gay bill, which is a parental rights and education bill. We've explained many times what it is, and Disney's very dishonest in the media and everyone who has been pushing a lot of misinformation that the Democrats don't mind spreading, but they just don't want people on the right to spread truth that they call as misinformation. So anyway, when they can slander a bill and change the name of it, make it popular to say the wrong name of the bill, and which really is designed to inflame people of a particular community to make them feel like they are targeted, and then to also target people of bleeding hearts so they will jump on and try to protect them. But thank God there's enough people who have the patience to read a 7-page bill and know that the whole way they framed the Don't Say Gay bill just it doesn't exist as far as the problem they say that the bill is. So anyway, Disney's employees were really, really sad, or some of them, because they do have conservative people who work for them, and they were trying to push the company to do something. And there's also like media and outside forces that are trying to push Disney to do it too. And so at first the CEO's like, hey, we're going to keep changing hearts and minds by making content, which red flags to me means I guess we're slowly going to convert your children to our way of thinking is what was the plan. But no shock there. They have a not so secretly gay agenda, according to leaked audio by Chris Rufo, I think was the one who broke that and put that out there. So no shock there. What was their long-term goal? But that wasn't good enough for some people, and they wanted them to actually kill the bill, like apparently they believe Disney killed other bills. So Disney decided to get involved, and they said that they want to stop the parental rights and education bill in the courts, in the legislature, wherever they can, and they're going to empower groups that are going to stop it. So to me, that sounds like we're going to empower and finance left-wing nut jobs who are super on the left, out to destroy your parental rights. And I don't know if you follow any groups or seen some groups that are aligned in that sort of way. I don't know what particular ones they give to, but my imagination runs wild. So in my opinion, Disney super declared war, and it's retaliation. Sure, I guess. I don't know how they would argue all this in the courts. As Ron DeSantis in Florida, they decided that they were going to revoke a special sort of blanket authority that Disney's had for a very long time to basically run their area like a government. But it's not just like the parks. There's also like other counties and people who live there. So they cover like the fire department, all kinds of other stuff. But Florida decided that they wanted to put a stop to that. However, they have reached a snag, and Disney has, let them know this. But here's an article from CNN. Disney self-governing special district, the Reedy Creek Improvement District, says that Florida's move to dissolve the district next year is not legal unless the state pays off Reedy Creek's extensive debts. Reedy Creek is a special purpose district created by the state law in May 1967 that gives Walt Disney Company extensive government control over the land and around its Central Florida theme parks. With that power, Reedy Creek currently has about $1 billion in outstanding bond debt, according to the credit rating agency Fitch Ratings. In a statement issued in its bondholders last Thursday, Reedy Creek pointed out to that 1967 law also includes a pledge from Florida to its bondholders. The law states that Florida will not in any way impair the rights or remedies of the holders until all such bonds, together with interest thereon, and all costs and expenses in connection with any act or proceeding by on behalf of such holders, are fully met and discharged. Due to that pledge, Reedy Creek said that it expects to continue business as usual. Yeah. So I don't know. I did go to Christina Pashaw's page, her Twitter, to see what people are talking about it, and I did not see an immediate statement like online or any comment to any sort of articles. This is, if you Google Florida, I think this is like sort of the new kind of stuff popping in. Yeah, this is pretty hot news. Just this article says updated 242 today. So I wonder what is going to be the move from DeSantis, because that's it's not nothing as far as the money goes. I also thought it was interesting. I just saw a clip that was on the Greg Gutfeld show talking about Florida and some of their carve outs that they've had in the past. And so this is something that I missed. I don't know if you guys heard about. Florida tried to pass a online bill against targeted harassment as far as with political speech, but they sectioned out a certain someone.
The sweetheart deal was still a deal. So did they break the deal or what? So here's the thing. It's not the only deal that Disney has made with the state of Florida. I'll remind you of another one. Actually, in 2021, this is last year, Florida passed a statute, you might remember it, that prevented internet companies from engaging in political discrimination online. Mm-hmm. Guess what? That applies to streaming services like Disney+. But they wrote an exemption into the statute for anyone who owns a theme park of 25 acres or more. It is literally a Disney exemption. They got it into the statute. So this is just crony capitalism. Disney has been making donations, running the Florida legislature. Now, the irony is that Disney lobbied for an exemption from a political anti-discrimination statute, and they got it. And now they're crying wolf with political discrimination, to wit. Okay? Now, no, I agree with you, Kat, though. Normally, I don't like state solutions. The market should solve this. Here's why the market isn't solving it, though. Normal capitalism, the top three shareholders of Disney, who are BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, would tell the CEO to knock it off because you're pissing off your customers. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what's not happening now is that actually those shareholders are effectively whispering in these CEOs' ears, DEI, ESG, keep doing what you're doing. That's the failure of actually total free market capitalism today, is actually you have this managerial class that's not representing the actual voices of Disney's shareholders, who happen to be the same customers who are pissed off. So that's the...
So if for anyone who doesn't know what DEI and the ESG, I think is what it is. DEI is like diversity, equity, inclusion. You could just arrange the I and the E, of course. It'd be abbreviated to DIE. So, and the other one is like environmental something. But the point of, I think, people pointing out and recently that I've been seeing is that a lot of these big companies are for all this other kind of stuff because they know it also helps to breed out competition. Because if you have a lot of different like environmental pledges or whatever that you have to make, there's just a lot of overhead costs that are associated with that other smaller companies and businesses might not be able to meet. So they don't mind lobbying for a lot of this nonsense. And then you get ideologues who are really into it anyway. Even though it could be bad for business, they don't care. They're all like virtue signaling to each other in their little bubble. So I thought that was interesting about the carve out because I was thinking specifically about Gina Carano, who I've talked about quite a bit on the show, but she was on The Mandalorian. So she was employed by, Lucasfilm, which is under Disney, on the streaming platform Disney Plus, and she was clearly fired for political speech. She was clearly fired for political speech. Now she was originally fired. They publicly like let her go after she made a comment about masking and just the behaviors that people had during COVID and like snitching on your neighbors. And she made a comparison with how people acted like leading up to like the Holocaust. And then Disney was like, oh my gosh, she disrespected people's faith. And it was like, that's not what she did in the least bit. So they mischaracterized her and used that as an excuse to fire her. But of course, when they stopped dealing with her was when she had ticked off the alphabet mafia, the woke police, because she would not engage in the pronouns online the way that people wanted her to. And they're like, what's your pronouns? What's your pronouns? What's your pronouns? And so she wrote beep, bop, boop. And they didn't like it. They didn't like it. They wanted her to apologize. They didn't just want her to apologize. They wanted her to apologize, get on a Zoom call with like 40 LGBT people and probably have like a sobbing white woman, I am nothing sort of moment. And she just said it felt like a trap. And she said that she would have rather, actually, I don't know if she said it felt like a trap, but in not so many words, I'll say that. So she said, how about I take him out to dinner? A couple people, they can look in my eyes, I can look in their eyes, and they can see I'm a human being and see where I'm coming from. Disney didn't like that, and basically because she wouldn't bow down to what they wanted. That was like the last she heard of them. She wasn't doing any more promotion for like Mandalorian and other stuff like that. And she heard she was let go the same time as everyone else, which is pretty crappy. So it's interesting that Disney lobbied for that carve out. Shame on people for granting them the carve out, because who else could it be applied to other than Disney? What does the theme parks have to do with online harassment? It's such a crazy bill that they got that carve out. But I wonder if how broad their decision for lobbying that was, or were they thinking about, yeah, we want to be able to make sure that we can discriminate against our employees if they tweet anything from the Daily Wire or share those kind of sentiments. So I just thought that was interesting. But I'm not surprised that as far as this Reedy Creek thing, that there was this clause back in 1967 that they wrote in. Did you think the mouse would let it all dissolve so easily? No, I don't think so. And so I guess we see how this is playing out, and we'll have to keep waiting to see what is DeSantis's response and everybody else's responses to this, because it's a big deal. And if they just didn't see this or didn't know about it, just forgot about it, that's a really, really bad move on their part. It's a really, really bad move on their part. And things are already hard enough in the economy. And if you got to add some more dollars to people and put on a whole bunch of debt, yeah, I don't think that's going to fly. So we'll see what the response is from DeSantis's team. And I'm sure they'll be asked about it extensively, and we'll probably know more and have more of a response about it tomorrow. But no, I'm not surprised that the mouse built that in and that they have that in their back pocket. But the best way, I think, to really get at Disney is for people really to just kind of not invest in their products right now. And I know that's really hard for folks to do if you've been addicted to sort of the Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, thing for a while. And I used to be really into it. So I guess that's why I'm not like pressuring people. But if that's why you want to talk to Disney and let them know that they're going down a bad path, I think the most obvious way to do that is to not go with the Disney Plus and to not see like Doctor Strange and what's another one? I don't think most people are going to see the Marvels when it comes out anyway, but I think that's kind of where you got to hurt them in the pocketbook. And Thor, I guess that's the next one coming out too. But that's got to be your decision, guys. Everybody's got to kind of do that in mass. If it's really that important, people like cheering on taking on the mouse. Best way to do that is you can't buy your kids an Elsa doll for a while. And Disney, I think their subscriptions either maybe stagnant or were down. I'm not sure. Netflix was down too. There's a lot of like woke stuff that's not doing too hot, but seems like the market's just down in general right now. But we'll see. It's definitely interesting. Moving on. So Joe Biden, do you guys remember when he said he didn't have like anything to do with his son's business dealings? If you don't remember, I've got a video.
His son was on the board of this Ukrainian energy company at a time he was vice president. Obama, the president, asked him to go to Ukraine to talk about corruption issues. So there is at least the appearance there. But listen.
I don't discuss business with my son. I didn't know that was the case when in fact I found out after the fact. And because I don't discuss things with my son or my family, because I don't want to have any knowledge of any, I don't want to be accused of, well, you talk with your son or you talk with your whomever.
If you're the vice president in an administration that is proudly boasting it's the most ethical administration in history, isn't that backwards? Isn't that backwards? I don't want to hold him to, you might be holding him to a different standard. There's a lot of people who trade in on their political connections and their family connections in Washington. But I don't talk to my son. Don't you need to know? So that you can say, Mr. President, I can't go to Ukraine. Hunter has business dealings there. You need to send somebody else. Am I wrong?
No, and I don't think Biden has really addressed the fundamental question of that, about when did you talk to Hunter? Why did you not talk to him earlier? And as president, how can the American public be assured that your son is not going to be presenting an appearance of a conflict of interest? And I don't think he's fully addressed those questions yet.
If you read that New Yorker profile of Hunter Biden, which came out a couple of weeks ago, they talk about this. They talk about, Hunter Biden used to be on the board of MBNA or work for MBNA, and as a senator, Joe Biden had a lot of bills and stuff related to banking. So there's been a long history of Hunter Biden's work being sort of adjacent to Joe Biden's work.
So, yeah. So people talked about it a little bit during the campaign trail, but I don't know why Chris Wallace felt like he needed to shoot down Trump when he wanted to talk about this stuff on the debate stage. Shame on Chris Wallace, but hope he enjoys his time on CNN Plus. Oh yeah, it's gone, man. But Joe Biden, he's obviously was lying. He was obviously lying. You can't say he has no connection or didn't know what was going on with sons and didn't want to have the appearance of such and such. I can understand not wanting to have the appearance of something going on, but they had a linked bank account. Again, his son's a crackhead. I don't think that was the wisest thing to do, to have your bank account linked to your crackhead son, especially when you're like the vice president, or even after the fact. It doesn't make sense to me. But one of Hunter's little escort friends Joe Biden ended up technically like paying for that. We talked about that on the show with the linked account. But there's more going on. So the RNC posted this little snippet. It said, hello, VP team. I spoke with Hunter today regarding his bills. It is my understanding that Hunt's dad will cover these bills in the short term as Hunter transitions in his career. By the way, this is like paying off to like China and stuff. Like, we're not talking about like his Kmart layaway. I have a list of the current bills, which I am aware. I have attached the list below. I am sure we will need to go over all of this to make a smooth transition. Many I can log into and change the bank accounts, or I can give you the logins. At any rate, I wanted to get the ball rolling. Please let me know a convenient time for this call. That said, I am traveling for the holiday weekend beginning tomorrow and will be back to my home office Tuesday. So it is understandable I will no longer be working for Hunter after January 31st. I will, of course, remain in touch if any of you have further questions, yada, yada, yada. So they were definitely intertwined, and it's causing a bit of a problem now, but obviously there always was a problem, and I don't understand the Democrats. I really, really don't. Well, again, I think the reason why they picked Biden isn't because they thought he was the only one who could beat Trump. That never, if that was the pitch that he got across, and everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense. Joe Biden is the only person who can do it. If that was really his pitch and they fell for it, kudos to Joe. Kudos to Joe, because always dumb. It was always dumb. I think the reason why they picked Joe and Kamala is because if they lost, they wouldn't be losing anyone of real value, anyone who could they were disposable. Other people on the bench, maybe they could do something with later. They could have some kind of career later. Joe Biden, this is his last shot. This is his chance to shoot his last shot. And if he doesn't do it now, he probably won't be around physically on this plane of existence too much longer, just because he's that old. And Kamala Harris couldn't get that far anyway. She wasn't going to win her own primary. She's the worst, isn't she? Like, I know people, I didn't like her. She was my least favorite out of all the Democrats. But some people, like, they'll do their seal clapping when they have like a snippet of her when she's doing like the Senate committee hearings or whatever. Now, she'd sound gross and dumb to me, but some, you get the right clip, and Democrats, oh yes, Queen slay. But just having to act beyond that and have these interviews and so on, she's just so underwhelming, just not up to the task, frankly stupid. She's just so I think they were obvious throwaways, and they ended up taking the win because they frankly were willing to shut down the whole entire country, destroy the economies, people's hopes and dreams and futures, inflame it with such egregious racial division, and lie and limit the press and manipulate stories and all kinds of things to eke out the win, including changing a lot of election laws and procedures without going through the legislative body, and just doing it through sort of edicts and flooding in the mail voting. So there's so many things they did to get to that result. So again, if Biden actually pitched to these guys, I'm the only one who can win, that's amazing, because I think they definitely could have tried it with some other people with all the crap they pulled, but Joe Biden is just the worst. And he had so many different problems, especially with Hunter. And can you imagine just being like Amy Klobuchar, like, as this news comes out and you're thinking, this is crazy. I should be president right now, or someone like that. And news comes out about, another story drops about Hunter and Biden and stuff, which I'm sure people must have had some kind of inkling about, I mean, there was stuff that was out there, but there's also people within different grapevines know different things and are privy to more information, or at least rumors, to make it seem like it's fathomable. So I wonder if she just is in her home at night. Does she just throw binders at cats and just scream into the night in hysteria and anger and bitterness or something? Just thinking about how they absolutely got themselves in a bit of a pickle. So I don't know how this all will end. I think there should be like some investigations and other things. But I guess there is some investigations with Hunter and his money and stuff, but I'm not optimistic it'll go particularly anywhere. But we'll see. There's, at least with the Durham stuff and Hillary Clinton, there's some like juicy tidbits coming out, but it's still a little late, a little late, and I don't foresee it ending with Clinton going to jail or anything like that. So it's just a shame. Just a shame. By the way, I briefly mentioned that there's going to be a disinformation governance board by the Homeland Security, and the person who's going to be, I guess, over it is Nina Jankowicz, and she's a little, she seems a little nutty at times, I guess. And she definitely had several tweets about Hunter Biden's laptop back in October 22nd, 2020. Back on the laptop from Heck, apparently Biden's notes 50 former national security officials and 5 former CIA heads that believe the laptop is Russian influence op. Trump says Russia, Russia, Russia. So, of course, those people who signed that disinformation, Russian influence, blah, 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 were all lying. They were all lying to cover for Hunter Biden, to cover for Joe Biden, and to get them in the White House. And the White House has the audacity, because I'm sure they know these tweets are out there, they know this person, and they know what she did and what a lot of these other people did to push misinformation to get him in the White House. They have the audacity to make a disinformation governance board and to put her over it. And to put her over it. Here's another one. This one's also from the 22nd. Not to mention that the emails don't need to be altered to be part of an influence campaign. Voters deserve that context, not a fairy tale about laptop repair shop. It was left in a laptop repair shop. And again, I can understand the story sounding a little fishy, because it did sound a little fishy. I'm like, left the laptops, got all this stuff about Hunter. Someone called Giuliani. Giuliani's like traveling the country trying to like get intel. It just sounded a little weird. But we know that it all turned out to be true, and people were verifying information. I mean, there was like his signature was on it for the paperwork for the laptop. It was a true story. And again, you might say none of this makes sense for normal people. Hunter Biden is a crackhead. And I don't say that to be mean. I'm just letting you know. I don't know if anyone's known anyone in the family who's been on drugs, but things don't go right. They could be a liability. So when you factor that in, it starts to sound a little bit more plausible. And that's not, he's lost like 3 laptops. He disposed of like a gun behind like an alley in a trash can or something crazy like that. There's all kinds of crazy stuff involving Hunter. This is the craziest story, the craziest family, craziest, trashiest first family. I swear. But they have the audacity to make a ministry of truth, because they're so concerned about disinformation. That's the world we're living in, guys. They're so concerned about the misinformation that they would just make up these crazy, wild stories. And make up these jobs and reward people. It's just, a lot of this seems like it's out of bitterness, because you could at least have found someone who didn't have to lie and participate in the cover-up of that. But sometimes they just want to stick it to the right. And these positions are like troll positions sometimes, like Rachel Levin being appointed as an assistant health secretary. That, like, I know they wanted to check certain boxes as far as like inclusion and whatnot, and Levin is a diversity hire, sure, but I think it's deeper than that. People knew that Levin in Pennsylvania actually was a part of that nursing home situation, the bad policy where you're putting COVID patients with nursing home people, and Levin knew it was a bad policy because Levin got his mom out of the nursing home. So if you were going to have anyone be the assistant health secretary, why would you pick Levin? Why would you pick Levin than to troll the world? Because you could have found, I don't know, somebody else who was trans to fit that position, I think. But you had to pick someone who did a terrible job. Why? Why? It reminds me of Disney Disney and Marvel getting rid of the Punisher's logo. Did you guys know that the Punisher's logo is no longer just like the skull? It's like a skull with like some. It looks more kind of piratey. I've showed a picture of it before, but the reason why they changed the logo of their beloved character that a lot of people recognize the logo of, like in my house I have a mug that's a skull. Someone was like, "Oh, you worship death," and they were trying to troll me or whatever. They were like a pro-choice person, and they saw my profile. I'm holding the mug, like, and they got really upset because I posted a picture of the babies, one of the babies from the DC clinic, and they're like, "Oh, you're so gross with posting this corpse." I'm like, you are literally for this. You are supporting abortion, and they're like, "Oh, you worship death," and I'm like, "Have you never seen the Punisher before? Like, you don't recognize this?" But anyway, very iconic logo, very iconic character. They've done. There's been 2 movies. No, there's been more than 2. There was that one they did back in the day, and then the one with Thomas Jane, and then there's Punisher Warzone, and then they did the Netflix show. He was on the Daredevil season, and then he had 2 seasons of his own, I believe. Yeah. So pretty iconic character. They didn't like the association that people were using that logo with Blue Lives Matter, because people would like use the skull for whatever reason, and then they'd have like a flag, and they'd have the blue line. And Disney or the psychopaths at Marvel who just, I don't know, despise the country and hate conservatives were like, "Oh no, we can't do this anymore." So they just up and changed their logo for their character. That's crazy. They could have, like, I don't know, did lawsuits or something, got stuff pulled down, but why would you just back off of your character and just change their logo other than like pure spite? Pure spite. To say, "Okay, you guys took this thing and it's the internet. You could have just let it be." But no, they said, "We're going to change his logo and make it look, I don't know, like he's about to rob the high seas." It's just not good. The new logo design. Take a minute when you're done to look it up. And he's like partnered with the Ninja organization, and he's like the head of it for some reason. I don't know. I haven't read a comic in a while because, frankly, I haven't liked where the story has gone for some time, but they're just woke trash nowadays. Marvel and DC. I don't know who is worse, but and it's sad because people know that my family has a big love of comic books, and we have like over 20,000 um in my house and stuff. So we had Captain America shield, Thor's hammer before the normies, got their movie versions of it. So I mean, this has been a long-term investment in my family. Like, my dad wanted to learn how to read because his dad brought him home a comic book and he wanted to know what it said. So a lot of love invested in those things, but I think I mentioned this the other day, they just took these characters and they hollowed them out, and then they're wearing their skin basically and just injecting all their ideas, their liberal philosophies everywhere. And it's one thing if you take a character in another direction, but it seems like they super resent the people who made them money. So and I think that shows with the case of the Punisher. There's other examples, but that's a big one to me, and just one that like totally blows my mind. But that's what they do. That's what they do. I want to show you guys this Project Veritas video. There was a leaked content on Twitter, so we know that they're losing their minds because Elon Musk bought Twitter. But apparently, this is a full like 45 minutes, I think, maybe close to 50 that they have on YouTube. I haven't listened to it all, just some of the snippets, but it seems like they're losing their minds over it too much, and a lot of these people are going to get fired because this isn't a public company anymore. See, he bought it when when you're so concerned about the boss and the direction they're going in. You should just probably resign if you're not going to be able to do the task anymore, like really. But everybody like crying and being hysterical over the news boss coming in, he's going to have to fire a lot of people. And I don't say that to be like spiteful or anything, but if you're not going to serve the interests of the company, especially since now it is a private company, you got to go.
Board and Mr. Musk plan on dealing with a mass exodus, considering the acquisition is by a person with questionable ethics?
The question of attrition, as Parag stated, one of the themes of today is continuity and ensuring that Parag and this leadership team continues to operate the business successfully on behalf of our users, on behalf of our customers. And that has obviously been a big topic of discussion at the board. And as I mentioned, an area that is important to Elon Musk as well, because of the importance of Twitter as a service.
With no board in place, who will keep Elon accountable and how? Elon made it clear in public that a large part of the reason he bought the platform was because of our moderation policies and disagreements in how we deal with health. This puts Twitter service and trust and safety, as well as anybody who cares about health on the platform, in a very difficult position.
Twitter service, the role of our policies, and the capabilities we've built around content moderation are fundamental to keeping Twitter safe and growing. I believe that there is a lot of work we have to do to continue making that better. Sometimes that means more thoughtful moderation. Sometimes that means making things simpler. Sometimes that means changing product incentives to be able to solve problems through products sometimes instead of policies.
During the last all hands, you said that you trust Elon Musk. The correct quote was, "We trust him." So who is we? And talking to Elon, what made you trust him?
And based on the conversation I had with him when we were excited to have him join our board, that was because as a major shareholder and an opinionated user, we wanted that voice in our boardroom so that we could learn.
Is there an updated understanding on what free speech means?
The question behind the question here, which is where might Twitter's product go as a private company in the future once this deal closes? To best gain perspective on this, as I said earlier, we'll find ways to bring Elon for a Q&A with all of you to understand better what his vision for the future of Twitter might look like.
So I think it's interesting, and a lot of people are noting how they're talking about like the health and the safety of Twitter. And I understand sometimes the internet can be like the wild, wild west as far as like different content, comments and stuff are thrown at people. There are times when people can weaponize and people don't use just hate speech. They target people for not just harassment, but to like physically hurt people to gather in situations like that. So stuff like that, where like you have like conspiracies and illegal stuff happening. That's what I think about like safety concerns. But that's not, I think, what they mean by that. They just mean like speech that they don't like when and I can understand people's emotions being high like after January 6th and stuff, but banning Trump over the tweet of "I'm not going to the inauguration." That's crazy. That's crazy. But Twitter's response was, well, he could have been signaling to other people that it was safe to go there and attack. That's quite an imagination you got there, Twitter. Are you kind of like secretly hoping for that to happen? And because I just don't understand why you put that idea out there in the atmosphere. Could have found like 20 million different reasons to like get rid of Trump. You could have went through his old Twitter feed, etc. But and just started mass flagging stuff. But that's the route that they decided to go. Okay. So it's interesting that they think about the health and the safety and how they define it. And I'm pretty sure like they would define like keeping like health and safety on Facebook by getting rid of what they deem as hate speech. But something that they deem as hate speech is the Babylon Bee saying that Rachel Levin is a man, has won their Man of the Year award. And of course, Rachel Levin is a man, which people were tweeting stuff like Leah Thomas is a man, other kind of stuff like that, to see if now they would get banned for saying that kind of stuff. So I haven't seen anyone get banned off of saying things that are true now, but we'll see how it goes moving forward. I don't think Elon's going to technically probably be in charge and have everything until like more toward the end of the year. So it's assuming everything with the deal goes through, but it's a lot of money now, so I'm assuming everything is going to go through with the deal, but we'll see how things change after that. So it's amazing to me, though, that these people can think that saying something like Rachel Levin is a man would be harmful, but on the flip side, if they can't understand parents who are concerned about their kids in school and they think they're over exaggerating and they don't understand why they don't want adults talking to their kids about sexual orientation and gender identity. Like, they can't see themselves at all, but they need to be protected in their own little bubble. And if you come and you criticize them and you I don't know, interrupt their little algorithm and break through their wall and criticize them, then they are a victim and you are cruel and you need to be booted from the platform, or if not booted, just severely shadow banned, have no sort of engagement or impact in social media or the world in general. They prefer, but they would like a ban, and they celebrate those bans when they happen, and they want to call it not cancel culture but accountability culture. But they're upset if it ever comes for them, which it rarely does, but it can happen. But then they're upset about it. So they have to be so protected online, on social media, in this open kind of square. But they think parents in Florida and other places across the country, when they want to protect their kids, those guys are bigots. It's so amazing to me that the parents who care about the actual like mental health of their kids and the physical health of their kids, they're not talking about the sort of emotional harm from the fragile egos of these verified checkmark users. They're talking about something, their kids in a very malleable position in life, and they just think the worst of you. And the worst, the people want to protect them. So I just thought it was an interesting observation. By the way, I do see the comments, and thank you, first time viewer. I do appreciate the comments about saying them seem very knowledgeable, and we're just sitting down in a coffee shop. So I do thank you for enjoying the black tea. I sometimes I don't always respond to people in the comments when they are typing things, because I'm trying to keep track of flow of all the topics and stuff. But I do appreciate people who watch live and people who watch it back later, people who write in comments, and I do try to read them all and acknowledge. I don't post them all up on the screen. Sometimes I will, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know if people want me to do that. I don't know if people expect that, so I don't always pop stuff on the screen. But I do appreciate people who watch, and in my audience very greatly. Last thing I want to show you guys before I go is just something that Glamour magazine decided to have Megan Fox as their cover person, and they did interviews with, and there was just one thing that was going around today that was so weird. And again, I just want to show you guys, it's so weird.
To drink each other's blood might mislead people, or people are imagining us with goblets and we're Game of Thrones drinking each other's blood. It's just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes only. It is used for a reason, and it is controlled, where it's let's shed a few drops of blood and each drink it. He's much more haphazard and hectic and chaotic, where he's willing to just cut his chest open with broken glass and be take my soul, let me bleed on you. It doesn't not happen, let me tell you. Maybe not exactly like that, but a version of that has happened many times.
What is going on here? There was people retweeting I'm not surprised, or just images of Alex Jones with a tinfoil hat, just kind of smiling, like, yeah, what they tell you, these people are into weird demonic sort of stuff, like drinking each other's blood. That's really, really gross. You could get really sick, actually. So, I hope that's a joke, but why would you make that kind of joke? It's probably not a joke. Oh man. Oh man. Yep. People are sick. People are absolutely sick. I don't have much more comment than that. Just wanted to share. But do you guys remember spirit cooking? Do you guys remember spirit cooking? When in the Hillary Clinton emails during the 2016 election that WikiLeaks was putting out, every day they dropped a batch, I would like run to my coworker, or they would come in my office and then be like, "Oh my gosh, they dropped a new batch," and we start like going through it. And so when people said that WikiLeaks, ended up, the emails or whatever what they did ended up changing people's minds about election, they interviewed blah blah blah. I don't know about that, but the only thing that I saw specifically where people was like, "I'm changing my mind, I can't vote for her," was spirit cooking. Like when I was like following people on Twitter and just kind of looking at people's comments, like, I can't get with this. And so Podesta had some kind of interaction or relationship with some, I can't remember her name, but it was some kind of weird witchy, some sort of ritual artsy woman, and they'd have these experiences where they do like spirit cooking, and Lady Gaga and other celebrities have gone to like these events, and there'd be people like in these pools of, I hope wasn't really blood, and I guess they weren't really blood, um but it was just really weird stuff. Go ahead and Google it. Spirit cooking, and you'll find some interesting things out there. So I think Mel Gibson said something about, like, in one of his like rants about Hollywood and blood and all kinds of other kind of weird stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what all these people do. I don't know. But I just wanted to share. Anyway, thank you guys for joining in today. I encourage you guys to go blacktnews.com, check out different articles that I have on the website. Make sure that you guys are checking out different merch that I have. It does help to support what I do. So I got all these cool, nifty little pro women sort of stuff. Like there's a skirt. Also, I do have an address, but with like little XX chromosomes and the gender symbol and all kinds of other stuff. Got XX woman and Club XX lifetime membership, and got those in like t-shirt, dresses, crop hoodies, and regular hoodies, shirts, and all the kinds of other stuff. You guys can check that out. Got the Trump 2024 Make Crack Whack Again, poking fun of Biden and their crack pipe solution by just, I guess, solving crack by just giving, I don't know, people crack pipes. Got the black tea mug, got the You Are Not That Special shirts, and also got those in cute little mugs. And the My Money, My Business shirt, got that as well. You guys can support Black Tea News by going to blacktnews.com/donate. It's amazing seeing how people are flipping out about Twitter, but I do think there is a shift, and I was very encouraged by Elon buying, and then also like stuff like Daily Wire making their kid shows and doing pretty well with their platform, their streaming platform, and they have way more users, especially active users, than CNN Plus. I don't know what CNN was thinking, but they didn't even get like 10,000 like viewers a day. Just they run 300 million. Not 300 million. Was it 300 million? It was a lot of money just down the drain, man. Just lit on fire. I guess maybe they're trying to prove to Discovery that they could survive, but oh boy, a lot of money wasted. Then you have Eric July, who's making his own set of comic books because he really loved comic books, but he doesn't like what they did. So he's like, I'm going to build something. I want to compete. So you have conservatives and all these people really trying to fight with the culture or for the culture by creating their own, and really, really pushing back. So I'm encouraged by that, and Black Tea News wishes to be a part of that movement as well. I want to help people be more encouraged to speak up about certain things. 62% of Americans are not comfortable talking about politics at all and letting their real feelings be shown, probably because of retaliation, because of stuff like Washington Post trying to out libs of TikTok. But when they came for libs of TikTok, other people came to protect them. And you had the Babylon Bee who's like, she doesn't have to worry about her job. We're taking care of her. This is her new job now. And that she radically got more subscribers. She did get to 1 million now. So there's people out there who want to see a big change and a big shift. And I want to be on that forefront too. And I appreciate everyone who watches Black Tea News, who shares Black Tea News and wants to be a part of it. And I do appreciate people who donate and who have given and who have bought merchandise. But if you want to be a part of that, please consider going to blacktnews.com and helping with the fight. Thank you guys very much for joining me today. And I will